Welcome to another episode of the Chronicles of Mister. I'm Mr. Pierre, and I'm so glad to be joined by Kaelyn Banks, a phenomenal marketer. And as a teacher who is not familiar with knowing how to market himself very well, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. And I know there are other teachers out there who are looking to transition into other fields. And so I know this conversation is going to be very beneficial to them. So, Kaelyn, thank you very much for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, if you could give folks sort of, I don't know how many of us are still riding the elevator, but if we were to ride up and down the elevator for 30 seconds, what would be the 30-second pitch of who Kaelyn Banks is?
Oh man, 30 seconds. That's all I've got.
Okay, we're going all the way up then. You got a whole minute and a half then.
Okay, let's see how I can do. Let's see. So hi, nice to meet everyone. I am Kaelyn Banks, the founder and CEO of Plumridge Marketing. I got my start in marketing. Goodness, I had to have been maybe 11, 12, sometime around there time frame.
Wow.
So I actually was a part of a program in Cleveland, Ohio. It was called the Consortium of African American Organization. And it was all about, of course, African Americans and making sure they had the resources and various tools necessary to exist in America. And one of the smaller initiatives that they had was the Youth Innovation Forum, which I was a part of. And what would happen is essentially as a part of this forum, we would have corporate sponsors. So companies would come along, like Shears Chips is really big in Ohio. Cleveland Clinic was a sponsor of ours. And they would say, okay, here is the prompt. We want you to create a product, a service around this problem that we're trying to solve. And then we would present it to those executives at the end of this program. So that was when I first fell in love with marketing without even knowing that I was doing marketing. And I was like, yeah, this is what I've got to do forever. Went off to school, was originally a psychology major, but I was like, learning the names and all the way the brain works, like I like it, but committing that to memory sounds just not fun at all. So that's when I made the transition to marketing, which honestly is kind of the same thing as psychology, just without all the nitty gritty scientific aspects, understanding people, what makes them work, what makes them tweak. And so got my degree at Howard University, HU. It was a great program, very exciting. And that was kind of when I was able to really combine the love that I had of marketing with the love that I had of being a part of the African American community. And so then after getting laid off twice in this pandemic, Plumridge Marketing was born specifically for the Black and Brown community to be able to enhance their marketing skills or just hire someone that looks like them to solve the challenges that they constantly have that maybe somebody else might not necessarily be as cognizant of. So that was way longer than 30 seconds. I don't know if I said enough about me, but you let me know.
No. That's perfect. I think one of the last things that you mentioned, that representation, part of the reason why this podcast came to be was recognizing that at the time I was only of the 2%. That was the number of Black men that were teachers here in the States. And that's gone down to it's like 1.3 to 1.7-ish. But that representation and that cultural competency of knowing like, hey, there are certain things when I'm in front of particularly Black and brown boys that when they do X, I'm like, I understand X, but I also understand A through W that comes before it. So they don't need to explain like, Mister, here's why. I'm like, no, I get it. I haven't lived your life, but I have enough of an understanding so that when you do whatever, I get a gist of why you're doing it. So to be able to have, like you were just saying, someone who understands the Black and brown community and can be able to assist them and support them in how they want to market themselves or market ... period. Yeah, I think that's super.
Yeah. And to your, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say to your point about the representation, that was also kind of the reason why I started my TikTok channel, was because I got on because I had started a role where I went from a very small silo where I was specifically doing strategic events in corporate America to then being a one-woman marketing team where I was doing everything. So that meant that I was having to like touch up my marketing skills and kind of remember some of the things that I learned back in college, which meant I was getting on the internet doing research, and there was almost no one that looked like me talking about marketing. There's
Yeah.
a lot of blonde hair, blue eyed, like
Hmm.
all over
Hmm.
YouTube, all over TikTok, but no one that looked like us. And so that was, kind of that same thing. I wanted the representation to be there for our community.
For sure, for sure. And what would you say in recognizing that there was that gap there? What would you say was like a hurdle in the beginning to be able to make that switch, or was there a hurdle?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, yeah, I mean, entrepreneurship comes with 10,000 hurdles. Every day is a new obstacle, but I guess that's what keeps it exciting, right? Keep showing your toes. Um, and I would say my biggest thing right now is awareness. You know what I mean? Like being able to come in while there are so many people talking about marketing, so many people are talking about so many different aspects of marketing, right? Because what I talk about is specifically strategy and planning, but then you've got folks who are talking about just growing on social media. And then you have people talking about which platforms to grow on. You have people talking about paid advertisements, affiliate marketing, which is like barely marketing at all. But there's so much in this, so much going on in the world of marketing. And then I'm like, okay, so how can we cut through the noise? You've got so much going on. And so I think cutting through the noise and just making people aware of the brand is definitely one of the biggest obstacles that I faced at the beginning. And honestly, I'm still working through that challenge. It's probably always going to be a challenge where at the very beginning, just letting people know, hey, I exist, I'm here, this is what I can do, and I can do it well.
For sure. And what is it that if a person who's listening to this is like, okay, what can Queen Banks help me with? Like, I don't
Yeah,
even know what,
absolutely.
I don't know what I don't know, but I know I need her. I know that if we have a conversation, she'll help me out. What is it that you can help folks with?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what I built Plumridge Marketing specifically around was the idea that I work with the Greater Washington Urban League as a subject matter expert, specifically in marketing.
Okay.
And so I had a lot of experience working with clients, small businesses, and entrepreneurs in the underserved community. And what I kept hearing over and over again was the same questions. People asking me, like, how do I find my audience? Like, you're telling me that I can't be everywhere and I can't be everything for everyone. So, how do I
Hmm.
define that audience? How do I find where they're sitting? Like very basic, fundamental things that people aren't doing when they start a business. They're kind of just like, I've got an idea and I'm going to hit the ground running, which is
Yep.
amazing. That's great. But sometimes what would happen a lot of times was people wouldn't take the step, wouldn't stop and take the step to plan and strategize. And so then they would have to keep planning and strategize every step of
Hmm.
the way. And so that's what I help people do. I help people create that solid brand foundation that's going to align with your business goals. So we're going to create marketing goals that are going to directly align with your business. So if you say to me, Kaylin, I want to make $10,000 a month, I'm going to say, okay, well, here are the marketing strategies that we can implement to help you get there. This is the things we need to be paying attention to. These are, these basic marketing fundamental elements that we need to have in place in order to get you to that final goal. So that's what I help us do. I help our community do.
Okay. Hypothetically speaking, there's a teacher who's listened to this.
Mm-hmm.
It's October. Shocktober is setting in because now the kiddos are familiar with this teacher. They're like, all right, we're going to show you our true colors. And this teacher is like, wowzers, I was not ready for this. All the Pinterest stuff that I was seeing, all the stuff I was seeing on TikTok and YouTube was just all the beautiful blah, blah, blah. And now they're thinking, okay, my contract is for this year. This is may not be for me. What should they start doing knowing that they can leave or exit in that month of October or November, but sometime in June? What's going to be the what ought to be the plan for that?
Well, I guess it would say the main thing would be what would be your final goal? If you decide that you don't want to be in this classroom anymore, what do you want to do? Do you want to be outside of the classroom teaching people virtually? Do you want to just create courses that you're giving to people? And then from there, I would say the very first thing, I mean, honestly, that would be like the main thing is figuring out what that plan is. What's the end goal? And then let's work backwards to figure out how we're going to do that. So if you decide, let's say, for example, we'll go with if you want to decide that you're going to teach online courses, you're going
Yep.
to sell those. Um, One of the very first things I would tell you to do is start building a community online. That's going to be always the main thing is like anytime you're looking to make any sort of transition at any point, you need people that are going to make that transition with you or are going to be there on the other side of your transition. So
Got
building
it.
that community can look like a plethora of things. That can look like starting building your presence on a social media platform. Of course, understanding where your target audience is. Are they on Pinterest? Are they on TikTok? Are they on Instagram? Because who are you
Hmm.
selling this course to? Are you selling it to the parents, or are you trying to
Yeah.
sell it to the students? Like,
Yep.
so then, that's, if you want to sell it to the students, you might want to get on Snapchat. You might want to start
Hmm.
playing around with some Snapchat filters. But if you're selling it to the parents, maybe you want to be on Facebook or Instagram. And so building that community, you can do that just by have a presence on social media. You can have a web page where you're producing blogs. You can be doing webinars where you're just letting people know, hey, you can pick a specific topic. So let's say, for example, you are a math teacher. And so now you're teaching people, here's how to easily do long division, right? Or here's how
Hmm.
to easily calculate, the 20% discount that you're going to get at the store when you're going shopping, right? Like the things that your audience is looking for. And then essentially what you're doing is you're establishing yourself as a leader in that industry. You're letting people know, hey, I'm a teacher and I know what the hell I'm talking about. So here it is. I'm putting it out there for you to absorb, for right now for free. And then so that, when I'm, going to sell a course, you're going to buy it because I've already established myself as somebody who understands what they're talking about.
Bet. All right. Cool, cool, cool. So, folks, to the folks who are listening, start to similar to the way that you would plan your lessons or plan a unit and knowing like, all right, I want kiddos to meet this objective, this objective, this objective. Step number one from Kaylyn is that, hey, what is your end goal? What is it that you eventually want to get to? Determine what that is. And then from back there, plan backward plans to how that's going to happen. And like she said, if it's going to be to the kiddos, get on that Snapchat, get on that tickety talk. If it's for the parents, the older folks are going to be more on Facebook and whatnot. So, all right, cool, cool, cool. Now, for you, being in this space, how do you uh, help the folks who are meeting you for the first time, like really see that, yo, I know what it is that I'm talking about. That I've got the goods. You want to you want to work with me.
Yeah, I would say that's a fun challenge. But I think at the same time, though, it's very easy to see when you know absolutely nothing and someone knows a little bit more than you. And so a lot of times what'll happen with my clients, very first call that I'll have with them, it's a free consultation, right? So I just allow them to sit, chat with me about your brand. What do you have going on? What are your hopes and dreams? And a lot of times clients will come at you with issues, with problems, right? Because
Yeah.
obviously they have something that they're trying to solve with you. And
Hmm.
so a lot of times I'll kind of like let them know, hey, listen, this is not a big deal. Like, for example, I had a client who was hoping to host a conference and they had been hosting it throughout the pandemic. So their growth was it wasn't astronomical. There was small growth, maybe 5% year over year. And so when you say 5%, that sounds like very small growth. So in her mind, she's like, yeah, I don't really want to put that out there because it sounds like we haven't done anything. And all I did was just a simple, just listening to her problem. I just kind of flipped it for her. And I was like, listen, hey, we can change that narrative. We don't have to say 5%, but we can say like, you grew 200 attendees year over year, which sounds a lot better than 5%. And then they're slowly kind of like, huh, yeah, and so that's just how it is, just gradually throughout, slowly but surely showing them there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Mm, dope, dope. And I like
Mhm.
what you just said of like helping folks see, like, hey, if you know X and I know X, Y, and Z, this is the reason why you're coming to me. It isn't
Mhm.
per chance that you're asking for my services. I know what it is that I'm doing. I'm sure you run up to that. You run up against that wall quite a bit, being
Oh
the
yeah.
magnificent black woman that you are. Folks wanting to doubt you. What other, I guess, obstacles would you say do your clients present you with that you're like, oh, this may seem like this ginormous thing, but it really is just a perspective like you just mentioned, to help them with.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the biggest challenge that people always come at me with is, well, whew, okay. I'll say two. There are two. The first one is understanding who their target audience is, and then the second one would be finding them. Okay, so the number one thing that I almost always hear people say to me when I ask them who their target audience is, who are your customers, who's buying from you, what are their demographics, psychographics, geographics? They don't know those things, and when I ask them who their customers are, they'll say to me, everyone. Who are you trying to sell to? Anyone that wants to buy my product. Not quite. That's not quite where we want to go there, right? We want a very targeted understanding of who's purchasing our products, because not everybody wants or needs the same things, right?
What you
Even
mean, Kaylin? Not everyone wants everything. Like,
not
how do how do
everyone wants
how
an
do you
iPhone.
niche down?
Right, right. And that's another thing that people don't like. You see that all over the place, all over the internet. You need to niche down. You don't need to
Yeah,
niche down. And let me just say about that really quickly. I would say for most people, niche down. Pick a niche, do it. Because the
mhm,
people who aren't niching down, they have a niche. They just don't understand what their niche is. The people who are producing videos and there's no real like uh theme, it seems, to their videos. Maybe in one video
yeah,
they're dancing, and another one they're cooking, and another one they're just vlogging. Their
yeah,
niche is their personality. Their niche is that they can talk to the camera about anything and you will listen. Their niche is
yeah,
that they're funny. Their niche is that they're relatable. That is still a niche. So niche down. It's fine. It'll be okay. And you don't have to stick to that niche forever. I think that's why people are always so afraid to
yeah.
niche down, because they're like,
Yep.
I have to do this for the rest of my life. No, you don't. You can
Yeah.
transition. If you start making let's say you start your TikTok on hair care, right? You don't have to just sit down and talk to the camera and do your hair forever. You can, get ready to go out with me. You can do here's how I styled my hair for this event. Here's how I do my hair when I travel. There's options if you can build on that niche. And once you've built that community, it's a lot easier to transition a community that's learned to fall in love with you
Yep.
into
Yep.
something else. Um, so looking back at our target audience, understanding who that specific person is, what is their age range? Because what I wanted at 21 is not the same thing that I want at 29. You know what I mean? Like, it's just
For
not,
real.
it's completely different. So,
For real.
we've got to understand that, and we have to
Yeah.
market appropriately. And then two, people will tell me, well, how do I find them? Where are they? You don't know because you haven't broken down their demographics, their psychographics, their geographics. You don't understand what they need so that you can come in and fill that gap. And that's why you can't find them. That's why you're having trouble with sales.
Professor Banks, like you just used some multisyllabic words, and I'm not ashamed as a teacher to be like, I don't know what she's talking about. When you say the demographics, the psychographics, and what was the other one?
Geographics, yeah.
What you mean by that?
What what the hell am I talking about? Yes, yeah, absolutely.
could
So
you
your
could you break it
demographic.
down? Break it down a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So those are three, and then there's a fourth one. And I won't get too much into that. But those are like the big three when you're
Hmm.
identifying who your customer is. Those are the big three things you want to know. So your demographics are going to tell you things like how old are they, what's their ethnicity. Their
Hmm.
psychographics are going to tell you things like where do they like to shop, what do they do for fun, what are their hobbies, what are their interests. And their geographics are going to tell you where do they live? What region are they based in? Where are they doing that shopping? Like, for example, I'm based here in the DMV, but there's, so many options. You can either live in DC, Maryland, or Virginia. And then the vibe in all three of these places are completely
It's
different.
different.
So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, where are people frequenting? What are they doing? So understanding that will give you a very clear picture of what your customer looks like. So then you can say, okay, if I know their hobbies and their interests, then when I go to take out, let's say, paid ads, then if I know that they love to shop on Shein, then I might take out some paid ads on Shein. And that's how you're going to find your customers. Or understanding, your demographic is between the age of 25 or 35. Well, there's a social platform that's specifically for that age
For
range. It is Instagram, or it's TikTok at a
them.
certain time of day, things of that
Hmm.
nature.
Okay. Okay. It's making a little bit more sense. All right. Sweet.
Yeah.
And now, once a person understands those big three, once a person has been able to niche down, once a person is like, all right, I know I would love to make 10K tutoring kiddos online, um, 10K a month tutoring kiddos online, particularly middle school kiddos who are out in California. And because it's online, whether that be northern, southern, or central, it's all good.
Hmm.
Um, what is then the next step that you would advise that teacher to do?
Absolutely. So I would say first step next is going to be creating buyer personas. If we're going to
Mm,
do the entire state of California, what's happening in Northern California is different than what's
yeah.
happening in LA, then is different than what's
Right.
happening in Southern, right? So
Right.
from
Right.
there, I would probably create three different buckets of buyer personas and say, here's how I'm going to market to my no-cal students. Here's how I'm going to market to SoCal. And then I don't know what we call middle California,
The
LA, I don't
Bay?
know, the
Is it the
Bay,
Bay? Yeah.
the Bay Area, I don't know.
Yeah.
So create those buckets from there. And then I would say, probably from there, I would figure out, okay, so if you've said, I want to make this amount of money, then I would go backwards and say, all right, so how many students do I need? Because how much should I
Mm,
be charging students? And then how many
yeah.
students would I need to actually reach that goal? Is that a plausible? Did we break this down smartly? Is this a smart
Yeah.
goal? Because then, if I have to charge students $300 to enroll in this course, that may or may not be feasible. I mean, in California, that might be a little bit more feasible, right? Because California is
Yeah.
expensive. But
Yep.
it's like then I could say, all right, $10,000 divided by 300. Maybe I need, I don't know math, 200
Mm,
students to enroll, right?
yep. Yep.
Um, and so then, then I would go back, then I'd say, all right, I need to reach this many people. So here are the marketing efforts that I'm going to do to reach these people because I know they're on these platforms, they're doing these things. I know they're watching YouTube all day and all night. So I'm taking out
Hmm.
ads on YouTube. So essentially developing your strategy from there. So then figuring out, okay, what are my 4 P's going to be? What's my price going to be? The place, is it virtual? Is it in person? What's my promotions going to look like? And then figuring out, okay, how exactly am I going to do those promotional activities? Am I going to write a blog? Am I going to, what's another one that I haven't said? Emails. Am I going to get them on an email list? Am I going to do newsletters? Am I going to get on Instagram live? Am I going to go
Yeah.
live every Monday and Wednesday? How am I going to reach them? And honestly, a lot of marketing is trial and error, which is
Right.
why it's so fun for me, but it's very tedious for others because you do kind of have to see what works.
I'm loving it because you're, as a teacher, there are so many things that you're saying that I'm like, oh, we do that. We do that. We do that. So it doesn't seem so far fetched or doesn't seem out of the realm of what we're already doing,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to say, all right, let me just, I'm just switching the degree of, instead of my focus here, it's doing this coupled with it. Um, and that last point that you made of, hey, let me just, once I understand that, work backwards. And then what you just said with the, I think it was the 3 P's of like my promotions, like who it is that you're, the person that you're going for, what age group and whatnot. And then whatever was the last, I'm like, oh, okay, that sounds similar to, yeah, what we do when it comes to me being a math teacher. Okay, I do that when it comes to like, I know there's an assessment coming up at the end of this unit. I want to have these other formative assessments come to it so that by the time they get to the summative, it's
Exactly.
all good. I'm getting data along the way. And I may think I have a bomb lesson, but then when the kiddos actually bomb it, I'm like, oh, that didn't hit the way I thought it would. Okay, let me go
Right.
back and try again.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah,
Exactly. I mean, I would say, because I think most people, they have an idea, they have like that final goal, right? I
yeah.
know my goal for the year, they've given me my, curriculum, like the main goal that the students need to achieve at the end
Yep.
of 8th grade, and so then you
Mm-hmm.
work backwards from that. Exactly. It's very logical. It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. What would you say has been like the, because there are, again, as an educator, we all remember and we tend to focus on the things that don't go well. But
Mm.
now, this being year 17 for me, I'm like, no, I got to remember the great things that do happen, celebrate the little wins. What have been the wins for you in Plumridge Marketing?
Yeah, my little wins. I would say most recent little win is probably me starting this series where I have decided that I'm going to build an online course. So my platform is all based around education. I
Mhm.
love educating, I love learning, and I love sharing knowledge. That is the Aquarius in me. Like as soon as I learn a fun fact, I'm like calling everyone like, "Oh, guess what I just learned?" Because I feel like everyone should be there. So I'm in the process of creating a digital marketing course so that, for people who are a little bit more hands-on and want to go through the process themselves, they can.
Mhm.
And so I've spent 30 days, I'm on day 26 now. So I've spent almost 30 days walking people through the process with me. And I think it's been really helpful. I've seen a lot of growth in my account. I've been getting a lot more engagement, people commenting, just being a lot more involved. And I was like, oh, you mean to tell me that all of these social media gurus have been right? Consistency is key. All I needed to do was start a series and post regularly. So that was a small little win recently that just, it's the little things that get you so excited when you're like, starting to see progress and growth. It's exciting. Um, Another little win that I had recently is I work a lot with the Greater Washington Urban League, and I was kind of came in as working for them as a subject matter expert teaching their clientele. But now it's become where like I'm kind of advising them as well as teaching individualized workshops myself. So like I get to do promo, I get to put my face out there and be like, hey guys, come learn about marketing from Kaylyn. So yeah, that's very exciting, very exciting. So to be able to do more little opportunities like that. It's the small things, they keep you motivated, keep you going. I can't hear you. I think you might be muted.
I was saying for sure, and congrats to you. And I was getting ready to ask, like, I love hearing how folks are leveling up, even if it is like just these 1% leveled up. I love James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, and how just 1% every single day is going to lead to great changes at the end of the year. And so hearing those or remembering those little wins, however small you may think they are, when you do look back, you're like, oh, yeah, I've done it. I've done the thing. I've been doing the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So congrats to you. If you
Thank
were,
you. Thank you.
if you were to recommend a book that has filled your cup personally or professionally or both, if you've got multiple, what would that book be?
Oh man, I've read so many good books lately. And honestly, it's funny. So they're definitely all personal, but like they'll help with
Mm-hmm.
professional as well. So I would say one of the things that we don't talk about a lot as entrepreneurs is the mental health that goes into being an
Oh,
entrepreneur.
okay.
Like that piece where it's not always easy. Some days are butter. Some days you just have
Mm-hmm.
people like banging down your doors, trying to work with you. And other days it's like crickets and you're like, hello, guys, world. I'm still here.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, one of the biggest things has been like, okay, I started this brand out of necessity, essentially, after being laid off twice in the pandemic and feeling as though I didn't have the security that I expected to have being in corporate America and
Mm-hmm.
wanting to be more in control of my own destiny and my security while also supporting my community. Um, but getting laid off twice in the middle of a global pandemic is tough, like it's,
Correct.
and
Correct.
especially because, I started like applying to jobs, but it was like marketing was one of those roles that like everybody was getting rid of their marketing departments,
Mm.
that's like one of the first jobs to go. And I was in the tech industry too. So, oh
Oh,
yeah, they were like, how can we easily save money? Like HR
no.
and marketing, those are the two departments.
Yeah.
Um, so it was difficult, there was a bit of depression in there. And when you're an entrepreneur, you kind of don't have a lot of room for those things, because you have to stay motivated. You have to keep going and persevering and pushing through. So, two books that I read that were absolutely amazing. One is called What Happened to You and is by Dr. Bruce Perry and Oprah Winfrey. You read that? You heard of it?
Yes.
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 Yeah. Yes.
That one,
So
I
good.
love that
Yeah.
one, right? Because it really
Really
broke
dope book.
down for me. Like, it really helped me understand trauma differently. And it helped me understand it. Like, I think having Oprah in there and adding that minority element to it and being like, no,
Yep.
I was getting whoopings, and like
Yeah.
little things like that. Like, that's so normal in our community. But like, in other communities, it's like, what? You got beat. Like, that's traumatizing,
Right.
And so I really enjoyed that one. And then How to Set Boundaries. Oh, I have to look her name up. Her name is a little longer, but How to Set Boundaries, I think is excellent, especially in our community because we don't do, I think just growing up, there was a ton of opportunity for us we didn't have a lot of boundaries. You know what I mean? Your parents, you couldn't lock doors in your house. I mean, you could barely close doors. Your parents would love to bust them down. You know what I mean? Like your little journal, they were reading it, like everything. We didn't have a lot of boundaries. And so then as an adult, it means that we have difficulty setting boundaries with our friends, with coworkers, whoever it may be. And
Yeah.
then we ultimately kind of end up burning ourselves out in the long run because we are
Hmm.
constantly letting people tear down these boundaries that aren't very solid.
Yeah.
And that is, oh my goodness, this book has just been so helpful at just reshaping, even understanding like how to set those boundaries. And I want to give me her full name. It's called Set Boundaries, Find Peace, A Guide to Reclaiming Yourself by Nidra Glover
Is it
Tawwab.
Tanwab? All right.
Tawwab. Yes, I know I'm probably butchering her name.
As am I. Yeah. But I is it the one with that has the four different colors?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, exactly.
Yep. All right. Dope.
And it
Dope.
just came
Dope.
out. It's already a New York Times bestseller. It just recently came out, I think maybe like early this year. And it has just,
Hmm.
oh, those two books combined, I'm telling you, man, chef's kiss.
Oh, sensational. Sensational.
Yes,
Um,
yes, yes.
if this is the part of the podcast that I love because I'm a lover of music, and so I love asking folks for their playlists. And so if I were to ask you, it could be five artists, it could be five songs, it could be more than five, but just five is the minimum. Who would be on your playlist right now? Who's on Kaelyn Banks's playlist?
Okay, depends. I'm gonna give you all my moods, but J. Cole is
Yes,
number one. I don't care what
yes.
mood I'm in. I
Jermaine's
don't
got
care
it.
if I'm
Yeah.
happy, sad. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Now, if I'm going out, if it's Friday night, I'm going to the club, I'm thinking I'm about to get a little ratchet. You know, I gotta have some Gucci on the playlist. We gotta
Okay.
have Goo Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. That's two.
Number three, if I'm just like feeling myself and I'm just in like my bad girl era, you know, Ari Lennox all
Okay.
day, all day. Give me some
Nice.
Ari.
Nice. That's
If
good. That's three.
I just want to chill and vibe out, ooh, this one's a toss up. If I just want to chill and vibe out and relax, I'm either gonna listen to ASAP Rocky or I'm gonna listen to Schoolboy Q. And we're gonna
Ooh.
go like mixtapes for them. Like we're gonna go. The only album of ASAP we're probably gonna do is Pretty Flacco. That's the only
Okay.
one. But we're
All
going
right.
all mixtapes, old school. And then number five,
Interesting. Nice.
probably Ree. We gotta have Rihanna on there. Riri,
I
she's
felt like the moment you said ASAP, Riri was gonna slip in there some way or another.
yeah. I
Okay.
mean, I'm a huge Riri fan. Riri honestly probably comes number two under J. Cole. I'm a huge Rihanna fan.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
a good
anti.
mixtape.
Oof, yeah.
That's a good mixtape right
It's gonna have
there.
a little
Oh,
bit of everything, you know. We're gonna
yeah.
chill, we're gonna lay back, we're
Yeah.
gonna turn up, we're gonna get a little
For sure. For
ratchet.
sure. Yeah. Oh, I like it. Nice.
Yeah.
Folks,
Wait, now I'm curious. You have to tell me your playlist now.
so me, and similarly to this, it's like water, so it changes. So if you catch me next week, it'll more likely than not change.
Be different.
Right
Yeah.
now, I'm a very much Wyclef John, and
Mm.
anything that he was with Fuji's, Lauren Praz, that sort of era. I'm really into that right now. Number two, I would say Jay Z. Give me anything from Blueprint. I'm down with that. Number three, I know I've been incepted because you mentioned Schoolboy. That I'm probably gonna throw in Kendrick. I'm thinking
Ah.
maybe even Sci-Hi. And then you said mixtapes, so I feel like Lil Wayne has got to be in there as well for a mixtape. And then, um,
Which ones? Which ones? No ceilings? Which ones?
no, I am more. I think I'd probably go back to like Carter 4. Yeah,
Ooh,
I would go
okay.
back to early, maybe Carter 3, Carter 4. And now that we're talking about it, because of that, and I'm sure because the movie is out, still the Inception, throw in some Nicki. But if I throw in Nicki, then Nicki makes me think of Cardi. That goes back and forth. And then if I think that, then I'm going with you of like similarly Rihanna and Beyonce is going to be in the mix. So I think I'd round it out so that that's like 8. I think then 9. 9 would have to be Childish Gambino. And then
Yes.
number
Oh my, let's go to
10,
a concert together. What?
number 10, just the way outfield, Ed Sheeran.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Just give you a little like, where did that come from? Yeah, strum the guitars. Mellow you out a little
I
bit.
love
Yeah.
that though. See,
Yeah.
mine would be my little oop that you wouldn't catch would be old school Swift, like old school Taylor back in like 2012,
Oh,
2013
yes.
Taylor Swift.
Yes. Yes.
She
Only
had the
maybe
bangers.
one heartbreak, not six. So there's still a little more joy in her voice.
She
Okay.
still got hope. She still got
Exactly.
hope. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
All
Yes,
right. All right. I like it. I like it. Folks,
yes.
this has been another dope conversation with another dope individual. I'm hoping that you were able to pick up a couple of gems from this episode. I know I definitely was. I'm Mr. Pierre. She's Kaelyn Banks. And this has been another episode of the Chronicles of Mister. We're out.